What's up, world? Y'all know what time it is. Y'all know what I'm here to speak about. I'm here to speak about this situation with all these Trump supporters raiding and invading this Capitol building, which is a federal crime, by the way. But you know what just amazes me? Well, it don't even amaze me, you know what I mean? I think it kind of upsets me how some of y'all are willing to say that the actions taken by these Trump supporters were no worse than the riots and the protests of the Black Lives Matter movement. Okay, so let's say this first. The protests over George Floyd and his death in Minneapolis were peaceful until cops started firing live rounds into the crowds of people who were having a peaceful protest. Okay, that's when things just went hell-bent. Okay, second of all, anytime that you saw official Black Lives Matter on the scene of any protest, they had their guns drawn, they were in tactical gear, and they conducted themselves accordingly. They didn't do anything unnecessary or out of the ordinary. So y'all are going around throwing all the actions of just, random black people who are breaking into buildings, you know what I mean, and stealing onto Black Lives Matter. You know what I mean? But you have the nerve to say that not all cops are bad cops. You get mad when people say, defund the police or all cops are bad cops. You say, no, don't take the actions of one cop and throw it on other cops. Well, then stop contradicting yourself and being a hypocrite. Stop saying that the actions of one black person or, hundreds or thousands of black people all represent and reflect the Black Lives Matter movement, because they don't. Anytime that you saw official Black Lives Matter on the scene, they conducted themselves accordingly. They had their guns drawn and they were doing what they needed to do in order to have a peaceful protest. Okay, so another thing I want to speak about is look at the situation with, let's say, for example, Elijah McClain. Elijah McClain was walking home from buying his brother some tea. He was choked out by the cops, by 3 officers. He was choked out by the cops and injected with ketamine upon arrival of the EMTs. This man was shot for suspicion of committing a crime, and he didn't commit a crime. Okay, Tamir Rice was only 12 years old. He was playing with a toy gun. He was shot in 2 seconds upon arrival of the cop. Within 2 seconds, the cop shot this 12-year-old boy for playing with a toy gun. All right? There's plenty of instances just in 2020 alone of people of color, whether black, brown, or some other ethnicity, who were killed for way less, whether they were committing a crime or not. Because some of these people were guilty of committing a crime and some of them weren't. But even if they were guilty of committing a crime, if they were no threat or if they didn't pose, a life-threatening situation to cops or to other citizens, they still were killed. Okay, so now, with that being said, a lot of people in 2020 were killed for way less than what these Trump supporters were doing with breaking and entering into a federal building on Capitol Hill. All right? These cops on video are shown taking selfies with some of these supporters. These supporters who are committing a federal crime, breaking into a federal building, a Capitol Hill, and they're taking selfies with these Trump supporters. Some of these supporters have American flags on long poles and are poking at these officers. Can that not be used as a deadly weapon? Can that not be used as a deadly weapon? Yes or no? And not one time did you see any of these guns be drawn. The only thing that they pulled out were sticks. That's it. Where is the same patience with these Trump supporters that y'all had with people of color, whether they have weapons or not, whether they're committing a crime or not? Y'all are hypocrites to say that the actions of these Trump supporters were no worse or no better than the protest over the Black Lives Matter movement. That's hypocrisy. That's contradictory. How are you going to say that? These people are storming the building, sitting on chairs, stealing podiums, banging on the doors, pushing the cops, doing everything that if a black person, a brown person, an Asian person, a Arabian person were to do, they'd be shot. And the sad thing is if there were to be people of color and they were to be shot, y'all would justify it. Y'all would justify their death. But now that these Trump supporters storm and climb over the wall and go into this building, y'all want to say that there's nothing wrong with that. that they were just in their feelings. Oh yeah, and for all of y'all who just so love Mr. Donald J. Trump, and he's just so perfect, and make America great again. What happened about last July in 2020 when he said that anybody breaking, entering, vandalizing a federal building will be prosecuted? I want to ask you right now, how many people are going to be prosecuted for breaking into this Capitol building? That's what I want to know. And what happened with Donald J. Trump saying when the looting starts, the shooting starts? Was that not looting yesterday? Was that not breaking and entering? Was that not destroying a building? Because when people did that last year, when they broke into businesses, when they stole from them, when they burned the buildings, when they tagged the buildings, when all that started, what did your so-called the greatest president say? He said when the looting starts, the shooting starts. There was no shooting yesterday. I wonder why. But you say favoritism doesn't exist. You say privilege doesn't exist. You say, why are you making this a color thing? These cops and these officials make it a color thing when they show favoritism towards one group of people and they don't show it to another group of people. So don't ask me why I'm making this a race thing. It's been a race thing before some of us ever set foot on this earth, and it's gonna be a race thing after we're gone. So don't ask me why I'm making it a race thing, because it's a race thing from the jump. So I ask y'all, how many people are going to be prosecuted under Mr. Donald Trump's law about breaking into federal buildings, vandalizing, rioting, looting? Is there going to be any prosecution, or is there going to be favoritism? Does privilege exist, or does it not exist? Y'all say it doesn't, but this situation is a clear example of how it does exist, and y'all want to sit there and say it doesn't. Black people, brown people were killed for way less in 2020, whether they were committing a crime or not. And when they did commit a crime, that's all y'all could bring up was their criminal history and how they deserve to die and what they should have been doing and what they shouldn't have been doing. But now that the Trump supporters have committed this federal crime by breaking into Capitol building, sitting on the chairs behind the desk, stealing the podiums, the cops have been caught taking selfies with some of these supporters. These supporters are poking at these officers with American flags on long sticks. They're breaking past the barricades. Nobody has anything to say. Y'all are awfully quiet. So that's what I want to speak about today. You say privilege doesn't exist? This is a clear example of how it does. This is ODHD signing out. Peace.